Alright, let me just say this straight. Most people in crypto are chasing tokens without even understanding what a token actually is. And that's where everything starts going wrong. You see, when I first entered this space, back in the days of scams like OneCoin, later Platincoin, I wasn't investing, but I was believing in systems I didn't understand, believing in promises instead of mechanics. And that's dangerous, because in crypto, if you don't understand what's underneath, you are not investing, but you're simply gambling. Today, I want to slow this down without any hype and no complicated jargon. Just real understanding of crypto. Let's talk about tokenization from the ground up. Tokenization is simple but powerful. You look at its core, tokenization means a lot. This is just taking things, it is taking something variable. It is taking something that is highly variable and representing it digitally on a blockchain. That something could be anything in this world. It could be money, it could be property, it could be diamonds, yes, it could be artwork, and even ideas. So instead of holding physical asset, you hold a token that represents ownership or access to it. So I want you to think about it this way. Imagine that you own a house in Kampala, Uganda. But normally, that house is illiquid. You can't sell 10% of it. You can't transfer ownership instantly. You cannot. That is with the traditional means of ownership. But now with tokenization, that house can be divided into digital tokens. Someone in Dubai can buy 5%. Someone in Singapore can buy 2%. And all of that is recorded transparently on a blockchain. There's nothing like a middleman. There are no delays. There's no confusion here. That is what we call tokenization. And this matters. And every day that we spend on this world, it matters even more. This is where it is getting completely interesting. That tokenization, it is not just a crypto trend. It is not just a mere crypto trend. But this is a shift in how the world handles ownership. Because traditionally, ownership is slow, it is paper-based, it is controlled by institutions, but tokenization makes ownership instant. It makes it borderless, and also it makes it 100% programmable. And that's the last part. Programmable ownership. Programmable ownership. And this is where everything changes. We have what we call real-world assets, what most people refer as RAS. You might have heard this term real-world assets everywhere on the internet. So this is where tokenization becomes real, not just theory. Real-world assets are things like real estate. There are things like gold and diamonds. There are things like stocks and bonds. There are things like infrastructures, even bank deposits. So when these things are tokenized, they move from the physical world onto the blockchain world. This is not speculation anymore. We are already seeing banks and institutions moving in this direction. Take something like PT Bat Bank in Indonesia. PT Bat Bank in Indonesia. What they are exploring and what many institutions globally are looking at, it is how to bridge traditional finance with blockchain systems. Because now they understand something most retail investors don't see yet. That the future is not crypto replacing banks, but the future is crypto integrating with real world finance. Have you guys seen the competition or the relationship between now crypto tokens and NFTs? Huh? I want to clear something up. Not all tokens are the same. And there are two main categories that I think people need to differentiate and understand. They are what we call fungible tokens. Fungible tokens, or what we call crypto tokens. These are tokens like Bitcoin, Ethereum, utility tokens. And then these ones, they are interchangeable. One Bitcoin equals to another Bitcoin. One token equals to another token of the same type. These are basically used for payments, for governance, for utility in ecosystems. And then they are what we call non-fungible tokens, what people call NFTs. Non-fungible tokens are completely different. They are unique. Each one represents specific something. That could be a digital art, that could be a music piece, that could be property ownership, that could be identity. An NFT is not just a JPEG. That's where most people get it wrong, in my own perspective. And I got this all wrong during the hype circles. But an NFT, it is a proof of ownership of something unique. Let me be honest here. Most people entered NFTs because of hype. So $1 million images, they saw influencers flipping pictures, and they thought this is easy money. But they missed out the point here, that the real value of NFTs is not art, but it is ownership verification. I want you to imagine land titles being stored as NFTs. Imagine diamond certificates being stored as NFTs. Imagine legal contracts being stored as NFTs. Now you start to see the bigger picture here. There is a point that I want to talk about right here, because the entire conversation is bringing me closer to something I've been deeply studying, that is Toption's Unity or Tunity token. This is where my mindset has changed over time, because I stopped asking how much can this token pump, and I started asking what problem does this solve? What is the worth of this entire infrastructure or economy? I'm of a firm believer that Toption's Unity is not just another token, but it is positioned around utility and real-world integration, especially within the Solana ecosystem. So what caught my attention is this, that it is trying to connect global digital assets with real world relevancy, not just speculation. And that's the direction the tokenization is going. So projects that survive long term are not the loudest, but they are the ones that connect to reality. Diamonds can be tokenized. I feel like I want to talk to diamonds. I had a conversation with a guy called David Dash a few days ago on this podcast. You guys should go and check for his episode. David Dash is a diamonds expert, has been dealing with diamonds, and he's trying to see how him and the company he works for can integrate diamonds into tokenization, how diamonds can be tokenized. And what they are saying is a shift. Crypto investors are now looking at real assets, not just tokens. They want something that is tangible. They want something with intrinsic value. Now imagine this, that a rare diamond is tokenized, it is divided into shares, it is accessible globally and verified on chain. That changes everything. Because now, ownership becomes fractional. Liquidity increases there and then. Transparency improves. And this is where tokenization meets traditional wealth. Tokenization is turning real-world value into digital tokens. It is making ownership faster and global. It is connecting traditional finance with blockchain. And we are still early, very, very early. But here's the truth that most people don't want to hear. Not every token represents real value. Some are just ideas. Some are just hype. Some are just empty promises. And this is where your responsibility comes in as an investor. Because you have to ask yourself, what does this token really represent? Is there a real world utility of this? Is there integration with actual systems? If you have followed my journey, you know I've been through the worst of this space, from scams, losses, false promises. But those experiences taught me something powerful. Not to chase tokens, but instead to understand them. Today, when I look at a project like Trypton's Unity, or when I hear about banks like PT But Bank exploring blockchain, I don't get excited because of hype, but I get interested because of the direction it is taking. So tokenization, it is not about getting rich quickly, but it is about understanding how the world is changing, that ownership is changing, that finance is changing, access is changing. And if you take the time to understand this now, you position yourself in differently. Because in the next few years, the question won't be, do you own crypto? No. But it will be, do you understand what your assets represent? And that right there, that's the difference between someone who got lucky and somebody who actually knows what they are doing. My name is Daniel Leinhardt, and you are listening to the Crypto Investor Podcast.